Did you know that your mental health can have an impact on your physical health? That's why it's important to check in with yourself and make sure you aren't overwhelmed by feelings of depression, stress, or anxiety. Here's the good news, everyone. Our next guest is here this morning to talk about the resources available for those who are struggling. Please help me welcome back to the show Dr. Jeremy Wigginton from Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Louisiana. Dr. Jeremy, welcome back.
Thanks so much for having me back so soon. So I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this really important topic.
Yes, because mental health, something that a lot of people are struggling with before the pandemic and now during the pandemic. And it's interesting because May is Mental Health Month. Why do you think it's so important for everyone to be aware of their mental health and know that you need to know how you're feeling?
Well, it's always been important, but really the pandemic made it a little more prominent for everyone. And people don't realize that their mental health can really affect their physical health. And some people really don't even know what anxiety and depression feel like. If you've never had it before, you may not even know what it uh, feels like inside. So the most important thing is that people realize that stress, anxiety, depression can really lead to all kinds of symptoms like fatigue and headaches, and just generally feeling bad can cause things like feeling like your heart is racing, or feeling like something bad is about to happen all of the time. So really it's important to talk to your doctor about all the feelings you're having, and don't just dismiss them, especially if they're starting to impact your daily life.
So true. And not only check on yourself, but check in on your family members as well, because the mind really can trick you. Sometimes I'm having a bad day and I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And sometimes I'm looking for resources for people who are looking for those resources. What are some ways people can get help for a mental health need?
Well, some of the good news is that the pandemic led to really an explosion of telehealth. And I know we've talked about telehealth before, but your primary care physician, if you already have a annual wellness visit scheduled, make sure you include that on topics to discuss with your regular doctor about how you're feeling. And again, they should ask you some questions about that, but let them know about everything. And even though you think it may not be important, go ahead and talk to them about it. That provider should be able to help give you some guidance. If you need to see a behavioral health specialist like a counselor, or a physician trained in mental health like a psychiatrist. The other good news is that right now telehealth is really a great option for mental health, especially because some people feel really hesitant about going in person to talk to a provider about their stress or anxiety or depression, because they might feel ashamed or confused about what the feelings are like. So telehealth is a really good option for those people who are in that situation too.
So true. And it's good that that option is available. Now, for people out there who may be experiencing some type of mental health need, you have brought us some tips this morning on how we can have better mental health. What are some of your tips?
Well, they're actually pretty easy tips if you know what to do. So number one would be really to focus on what you can control. So really try not to get bogged down in the world events or other people's actions or behaviors. And so step back and remind yourself about what you can do and what you can control in your own life. Those really simple things and easy things. And be mindful of your screen time, really stepping away from social media and remembering that social media is not the news. It's really mostly people's opinions. And so giving you some self a time away from screen, and watching television, getting outside, getting some physical exercise. We know absolutely the physical exercise regularly can help reduce stress, anxiety, all kinds of things. We want to make sure we practice mindfulness and breathing exercises. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, step back and take a minute to yourself. And there may be other things that you do, like painting or journaling, things that reduce stress. Take advantage of those things, and do those things more regularly. The other thing that we know during the pandemic in 2020 was that opioid related deaths were the highest they'd ever been. So that's another thing to think about, is that if you have family members who are struggling with those kind of things, reach out to them, and also make sure you talk to your regular doctor about these things. And so keep those things in mind.
It is so true because, we're going through this COVID-19 pandemic right now, but we're also going through this mental health pandemic. And I really love your tip on focus on what you can control, because I'm the type of person where it's like, even if there's something that is out of my control, I always think, is this my fault? And I should not be thinking that way, because then that affects my mental health. Now, I want to take a turn and talk a little bit about the hope on the horizon, right? The COVID-19 vaccine is here. I've told everybody I've gotten both my vaccinations. What's the latest update on the COVID-19 vaccine?
Well, Louisiana is doing a pretty good job of getting vaccinated, but we could definitely do better. We're somewhere close to 40% of people getting at least one vaccine. The J&J vaccine was taken off the market for a period of time due to some safety concerns. Now it is back on the market. So there's still the three vaccines now on the market, and people are starting to get them more regularly. The FDA has expanded the indication to anyone 16 and older, and now that is the state recommendation, and federally the recommendation too. Anybody who's 16 years or older can get one of those vaccines. And so really, you need to get a vaccine, because the more vaccines we can get to people, the more that we can kind of take some of that worry off our back about it continuing to spread, and people ending up in the hospital. And the other thing I want to remind people is that of all the risks that are out there around vaccines, most of the risks are the same as they would be for the flu vaccine. And even the risk that the reason they took the J&J vaccine off the market, those are very teeny, tiny numbers in comparison to the people who got the vaccine. So if you got the vaccine already, the J&J vaccine would not stress about it. And also, just if you have any concern about which vaccine to take, talk to your regular provider about those.
Some great information this morning. I got both of mine and I feel perfectly fine. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Dr. Jeremy. And hey, to find out more about mental health help options, rather, you can log on to getplanoptions.com or call Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Louisiana at 1-844 Get Blue. And for more great information on all of your health concerns, follow them on social media at BCBSLA.